And here we go. Life must be observed through various lenses. Consider creativity. Evidence from the Torrance tests of creative thinking, which have been administered to American children in kindergarten through 12th grade for many decades, reveals that creativity has been in steady decline since 1984. One educational psychiatrist writing in Creative Research Journal found that they have become less emotionally expressive, as well as less humorous, less imaginative, less unconventional, less lively and passionate, less perceptive, and less likely to see things from a different angle. Many factors have likely contributed to this decline in creativity, but it has coincided with the decades in which children's media consumption and technology use rose dramatically. And this is from the Hedgehog Review, volume 20 in spring 2018. It was an interesting story. I recall when NBC canceled its show Timeless back in 2017 after one season. Okay, so much for the title. Timeless wasn't what it claimed to be and ran its course. NBC will only cancel a show when it's time, and it was time. Goes to show that nothing is timeless, not even timeless. Timeless becomes timeful, time's up. My little play on words there. The mind is an excellent servant, but a terrible master. The universe has created an observer, and now the observer looks back and creates the universe. The past flows to the present, and the present turns around and causes the past. That's a quote from Brother John Archibald Wheeler. The world is staged, but the play is badly cast. The operative disorder is no longer a hedonism begat by uncertainty. It is a hedonism rigidly structured by the newest version of the natural laws. Freed from the metaphysical certainty, we find ourselves enthralled to the logic of the market, not to the ultimate seeming ends, but to the ultimate seeming means that produce the ends of staggering banality. And that is from Mark Reef. Almost all poetry is a failure because it sounds like somebody saying, look, I've written a poem. That comes from none other than Charles Bukowski. Everything that is true is inappropriate, from Oscar Wilde. I have no enemies, but my friends don't like me. That's from Philip Larkin. A big fucking bar, sis, with every kind of liquor imaginable. And that's from Elaine Stritch on what heaven would be like. My ambition was to live like music, Mary Gateskill. Caffeine was my exercise, and that's from Otessa Moshfegh. Revenge is the capitalism of the poor, Aravind Adiga. The face of evil is always the face of total need, William Burroughs. In our deepest moments, we say the most inadequate things, and that's from Edna O'Brien. A coworker told me once that she wished she could be in two places at once, and I replied by saying, no, you don't. Think about it. The best thing you could say to anyone is that they helped you keep the wolf of insignificance from your door. I love this quote, and it's from Saul Bellow. I'll read that again. The best thing you could say to anyone is that they helped you keep the wolf of insignificance from your door. We are slaves to our past and hostages to our future. Time is nature's way to keep everything from happening at once. And time is a great teacher, but unfortunately it kills all its pupils. A woman I worked with sent me an email the day after we saw each other at a company gathering, and she told me that it was a pleasure seeing you last night at the meeting. And I responded by saying, yes, it was a pleasure for you to see me last night at the meeting. This is a true story. Oh, good. If you want to really enjoy life, watch a Marx Brothers movie. And speaking of Marx Brothers, Margaret Dumont tells Groucho, why, I've never been so insulted in my life. And Groucho replies, well, it's early yet. And if you can't say something nasty, then say nothing at all. That's from Gore Vidal. While watching an especially grim show on the plague, my wife asked me, how long did the plague last? To which I replied, almost as long as the show. And my wife is a travel agent, and as someone claimed, travel consultants are purveyors of people's dreams, the conduit to someone's desire for broadening their base, learning about foreign cultures and investigating faraway places. And while she's trying to make her clients' dreams come true, her job can be a nightmare. I overheard a couple that after having been married for 81 years, which is quite a run, They were asked the inevitable question, is there a secret to being married that long? To which the wife replied, I always let him have my way. That's an absolute keeper. I'm interested in everything and nothing else. I would not disagree with me because I don't know anything. The mind of a bigot is like the pupil of the eye. The more the light you pour on in it, the more it contracts. Being dissatisfied leads to discontent, and so does being satisfied. The refrain that people are entitled to their own opinions amounts to a pseudo-noble cliche. I don't know who wrote that. It wasn't me. My round discussion was neither a round table or a discussion. If anyone asks why I'm drinking at 10 a.m., tell them it's the jet lag. And cheers to not being dead inside. And watching Trump speak is like watching an autopsy. In a brief conversation with my wife, she reminded me that she was not the type of person to impress anyone, to which I replied, don't worry about it, you're not. And don't give me an opening. If we concede that human life can be governed by reason, then the possibility of life is destroyed. And here's a quote from Humphrey Bogart. The whole world is 3 drinks behind. I agree. My uncle was a big drinker. He drank so heavily that when he died and they cremated him, it took more than 3 days for the fire to go out. That's from Foster Brooks. Someone stole all my credit cards, but I won't be reporting it. The thief spends less than my wife does, and that's from Henny Youngman. Oscar Wilde asked Sarah Bernhardt, do you mind if I smoke? And she replied by saying, I don't care if you burn. I don't like to think of laws as rules that you have to follow, but more as suggestions, and that's from George Carlin. And another George Carlin quote, when you think about it, attention deficit disorder makes a lot of sense in this country. There isn't much worth paying attention to. So I get arrested in a bar in New York City, and I was drunk as a skunk. About 4 cops beat the shit out of me, arrest me and read me my rights, and tell me that I have the right to remain silent. Now, I knew I had the right to remain silent. I just didn't have the ability. That's from Ron White, the comedian. And nobody loves me but my mother, and she could be jiving too. That's from B.B. King. And nothing matters, and what if it did? John Cougar Mellencamp. And lastly, a woman drove me to drink once, and I'll always be indebted to her for that. And that's W.C. Fields, and I'm out.